Goldisocks and the Three Libearians by Jackie Mims Hopkins, illustrated by John Manders. Boys and girls, we're going to read this story today, but did you notice any differences in the title? I think it said Goldisocks, not Goldie, that's right, Goldilocks. And then it says the Three Libearians, not librarians. So this must be similar to the story that we know about Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but it might be a little bit different. It seems like she has a book in her hand on that first page. Let's see what happens. Once upon a time, nestled deep in an enchanted forest, there lived a book-loving bear family. Papa Bear was a public librarian, Mama Bear was a school librarian, and their son, Baby Bear, was a librarian in training at the Grizzly Preschool. Do you get it? Grizzly, do you get it? One morning, a little girl named Goldisocks was on her way to school. Goldisocks usually walked along the road, but this day, since she was running particularly late, she decided to take a shortcut through the forest. By and by, Goldisocks came upon an astonishing sight. There, in the middle of the forest, she saw a cottage that appeared to be made out of... Look carefully at the picture. Do you see what it's made out of? Do you see the spine and the pages? Yes, books. A cottage made out of books. Goldisocks loved books more than bears love honey, so she went up to the house for a closer look. She knocked on the door, and to her surprise, it creaked open. Cautiously, Goldisocks peeked inside. Shelves and shelves of wondrous books lined the walls. She called out to see if anyone was home, but no one answered. Goldisocks knew she shouldn't go in, but the temptation of all those books was more than she could bear. Once inside the cottage, Goldisocks went straight to the shelves. She began browsing through the books. The first book she pulled off the shelf was way too big. That's right. In fact, she was so heavy it fell on the floor. I remember that when kids start in kindergarten, usually they sometimes look for really big books or really small books, instead of opening up the book and looking inside to see what's inside. It's really good when you go to read books to open inside to look at the words and the pictures. Goldisocks went to another shelf, but the book she took from the shelf was too little. Then she looked through some nonfiction books and found one that was just right. Goldisocks wandered over to another shelf and opened up a chapter book. She used the 5-finger rule to see if the book was too hard. She started with a closed fist. When she came to a word she couldn't read, she put a finger up. All 5 fingers went up while she was reading the first page of the book, so she knew that book was way too hard. Yes, too hard for her. She tried another book, but that book was too easy. She didn't put up any fingers. Then she found a book of fairy tales, and that book was just right. After she found several books that were just right, Goldisocks began searching for the perfect place to read them. Goldisocks looked around the room and spotted a big lazy bear recliner. She climbed in the enormous chair, pushed back, but it went back too far. She surveyed the room again. This time she spied a poofy couch with lots of pillows. Goldisocks sprang into the air. She landed smack dab in the middle of the couch. Pillows flew everywhere. The couch was too squishy. Maybe there is a comfy place upstairs, she thought. When Goldisocks reached the top of the stairs, she saw a tent made out of a blanket. She crawled inside the cozy tent, opened the book of fairy tales, and began reading. Yes, this place was just right. Around noon, the 3 librarians came home from lunch. Uh-oh, I wonder what they're going to see. Papa Librarian immediately noticed one of his books on the floor. Somebody's been looking at my big books and left one on the big floor. And left one on the floor. Then Mama Librarian said, somebody's been looking at my little books and put one back on the shelf with the pages showing instead of the spine. Do you see that, boys and girls? We learned to put the spine on the outside. I guess Goldisocks doesn't really remember that yet. Then Baby Librarian said, somebody's been looking at my nonfiction books and one is gone. Papa Librarian looked at another shelf and said, somebody's been looking at my hard books and left one on the top of the shelf. Somebody's been looking at my easy books and put one back on the shelf upside down. Then Baby Librarian said, somebody's been looking at my fairy tale books and one is gone. Papa Librarian saw his favorite chair was not in the same position that he had left it. Somebody's been sitting in my recliner and they left it pushed back, he said. Then Mama Librarian said, somebody's been on my poofy couch and knocked all the pillows on the floor. The 3 librarians crept up the stairs. When they got to the top, Baby Librarian said, "Somebody's been in my cozy reading tent, and there she is!" Goldisocks looked up from her book, saw the big sharp teeth of the 3 librarians. Boys and girls, turn and talk. Tell your friend what you think's going to happen next. I know you're thinking about Goldilocks, and she does something in that story. But I wonder if she's going to do the same thing in this story, because this is Goldisocks. Oh, they didn't chase her out of the room. They were smiling at her. Papa, Mama, and Baby Librarian joined Goldisocks in the tent. Papa Librarian read a story to everyone, and it was just right. Thanks for reading with me, boys and girls. Now you've practiced the 5-finger rule. Thank you for taking your time to think about books and make good choices to open them up before you check them out. And don't choose based on if they're too big or too little. Based on if you open up the book and it looks good and the reading's good, then you should check it out, because it's just right.